For thousands of years, every child in the galaxy grew up hearing the same warning. But nobody truly understood it. Never involve humans in interstellar wars. Most people thought it was just an old rule from a forgotten time. Some even laughed about it. The younger races believed humans were weak and unimportant. After all, Earth stayed away from galactic politics. Humans traded peacefully, explored quietly, and rarely appeared in major events. Many species considered them boring. But the oldest members of the Galactic Council never laughed when humanity was mentioned. Fear always appeared in their eyes. Now the galaxy faced its darkest hour. The Dominion Empire was expanding without mercy. Planet after planet fell before its massive fleets. Entire civilizations disappeared within weeks. The strongest alliances had already been defeated. Thousands of warships burned across space. Billions of lives were lost inside the Grand Council chamber. Dozens of alien leaders sat in silence. Nobody had any good news. Every report was worse than the one before. Council Speaker Virex slowly looked around the room. His voice sounded tired. "The Seventh Fleet has fallen," he said. "The Orion defense line no longer exists." Fear spread across the chamber. General Krovos slammed his claws against the table. "We are running out of options," he growled. "If the Dominion reaches the core worlds, everything is finished." Nobody answered because everyone knew he was right. Then an old figure slowly stood up. It was Ambassador Terrell. He was one of the oldest beings in the council. Many younger leaders considered him outdated. But nobody interrupted him. His voice was calm. "There is one option left." Everyone turned toward him. General Krovos frowned. "What option?" he asked. Terrell looked directly at the council. "We ask humanity for help." The chamber exploded with shouting. Several leaders stood up immediately. "Absolutely not. That is forbidden. The law forbids human involvement." Even the speaker looked shocked. "You cannot be serious," Virex said. But Terrell remained calm. The law was created for a reason. "But extinction is a greater danger." General Krovos laughed angrily. "Humans? Those peaceful traitors? They have never fought a major war in thousands of years. They cannot save us." Another council member nodded. "Human ships are outdated. They have small territories. They have no giant empire. They are useless." But Terrell slowly raised a small ancient device. "I have seen something that most of you have not," he said quietly. The room became silent. The old device projected a message. It was thousands of years old. The recording was damaged. The image showed terrified alien leaders from another age. Only one sentence could still be heard clearly: "If humanity enters the war, no one controls what comes next." The recording ended. Silence filled the chamber. General Krovos crossed his arms. "That proves nothing," he said. "It sounds like a myth." But Speaker Virex noticed something strange. Even the oldest council members looked nervous. Some of them refused to look at the recording. Terrell spoke again. "Our ancestors erased most records. They wanted future generations to forget. But they kept one warning: never call humanity into war." One young representative laughed. "So we are afraid of farmers and merchants?" Several others agreed, but Terrell's eyes remained serious. "Young people laugh because they do not remember," he answered. "Old people stay silent because they do." Hours passed. Arguments continued across the chamber. Some wanted to surrender. Others wanted to fight until the end. But every new battle report brought terrible news. Another fleet destroyed. Another world lost. Finally, Speaker Virex stood up. His voice echoed across the room. "We have no choice. We will contact Earth." Half the chamber protested immediately. But the decision had already been made. A communication ship was prepared. The message was simple: "The Galactic Council requests assistance from humanity." Everyone expected delays. They expected long discussions, perhaps even a refusal. But only 5 minutes after the message reached Earth, a reply arrived. The speed of the answer shocked everyone. Speaker Virex opened the transmission. A human woman wearing a simple Navy uniform appeared. She looked calm, almost too calm. "We received your request," she said. "Humanity accepts," several leaders sighed with relief. But Ambassador Terrell suddenly turned pale. Because he noticed something nobody else understood. The woman was not surprised. She was not asking questions. She was not negotiating. Almost as if humanity had been waiting for this call. Then the woman spoke again. "We have only one request. No one interferes with human operations. No one asks questions. And no one attempts to stop what comes next." The transmission ended. Inside the chamber, confusion spread among the younger leaders. But Ambassador Terrell felt something much worse: fear. Because for the first time in thousands of years, humanity had agreed to return to war, and somewhere deep inside his ancient memories, he remembered why the galaxy had feared that answer. The answer from Earth spread across the Galactic Council faster than anyone expected. Most of the younger leaders celebrated immediately. They believed humanity had finally decided to help. Many officers imagined thousands of human warships rushing toward the front lines. Some even predicted that the Dominion Empire would be defeated within weeks. But the oldest members of the council did not celebrate. Ambassador Terrell remained silent. Something about the human response worried him. Humans had accepted too quickly, almost as if they had prepared for this moment long ago. 20 hours later, another message arrived from Earth. The council chamber became quiet as the transmission began. Instead of military officers, several humans wearing simple uniforms appeared. Their leader introduced herself as Director Emily Hayes. She spoke calmly. "Humanity accepts the alliance. But before any military action begins, we require information." General Krevos smiled with relief. "Of course," he said. "We will provide battle maps and fleet locations." But Director Hayes shook her head. "We do not need only that. We want everything." The room became confused. Speaker Varix leaned forward. "Everything?" he asked. "Yes," Emily answered. "We want enemy history, supply routes, civilian populations, cultural information, communication systems, and every battle report from the last 100 years. General Kravos frowned. "Why would you need civilian information?" he asked. "We are discussing war." Emily looked directly at him. "Because wars affect civilians. We do not fight blindly." The council members exchanged nervous looks. The request seemed strange. Most species focused only on weapons and fleet numbers. Humans wanted information that nobody considered important. For the next several days, thousands of files were sent to Earth. But something even stranger happened. Humanity still sent no warships, no fleets appeared, no armies moved. The Dominion continued advancing. Several council members became angry. "They are wasting time," General Kravos complained. "Entire worlds are burning while humans read reports." Many leaders agreed. Some even accused humanity of being afraid. But Ambassador Terrell said nothing. He only watched. 3 days later, strange reports began arriving from human space. Factories that had been quiet for centuries suddenly became active. Old shipyards reopened. Thousands of cargo ships moved between planets. Mining colonies doubled their production. Civilian transports disappeared into classified sectors. Nobody understood what was happening. The council demanded answers. Another communication with Earth was arranged. This time Speaker Varix spoke directly. "The Dominion has destroyed 4 more systems," he said. "When will your fleets arrive?" Director Hayes answered calmly. "They are already moving." Everyone looked confused. "No fleet has entered Alliance space," General Kravos argued. Emily nodded. "Correct, because our fleets are not coming from Earth." The room became silent. "Then where are they coming from?" Varix asked. Emily smiled slightly. "You will see soon." The transmission ended again. General Kravos nearly exploded with anger. "These humans speak in riddles," he growled. "They treat this war like a game." But Ambassador Terrell noticed something strange. Every human officer seemed completely relaxed. Not one showed fear, not one asked about Dominion fleet numbers. Not one seemed worried about defeat. Meanwhile, far beyond the front lines, the Dominion Empire celebrated. Supreme Commander Zayler stood proudly aboard his flagship. The reports pleased him. Another Alliance fleet had been destroyed. Victory seemed certain. His officers laughed when they heard about humanity joining the war. Humans? One admiral said, "Those traitors and explorers? They have avoided war for thousands of years. They probably forgot how to fight." The bridge filled with laughter. Commander Zayler smiled. "Good," he said. "After we conquer the Alliance, Earth will surrender without resistance." Nobody questioned him. Nobody suspected danger, but deep inside Dominion territory, strange things began happening. Supply ships disappeared. Communication relays stopped responding. Several spy stations suddenly went silent. Entire patrol groups vanished without distress signals. At first, Dominion commanders blamed pirates. Then they blamed equipment failures, but the strange incidents continued. Fear slowly began spreading among lower officers. One captain reported seeing unidentified ships near a mining colony. Another claimed his sensors detected vessels that disappeared within seconds. Yet no enemy fleet could be found. Even Alliance intelligence could not explain the mystery. Back inside the Galactic Council, an emergency report arrived. One Dominion battle group had vanished completely, 40 warships gone without a trace. No debris, no survivors, no distress calls, nothing. General Krovos stared at the report in disbelief. Far inside Dominion territory, Captain Vorn stared at his sensors in disbelief. Thousands of signals had appeared from nowhere. At first he believed the system was broken. But every scanner on his ship showed the same thing. Unknown vessels surrounded the sector, yet they were invisible to normal radar. His hands trembled as he sent an emergency message. "Unknown fleet detected, requesting identification." No answer came. Only silence. Seconds later, every signal disappeared again. The bridge crew looked at each other nervously. One officer whispered, "Maybe they were ghosts." Captain Vorn did not laugh. Something felt wrong, very wrong, across the Dominion Empire. Strange reports multiplied. Supply stations vanished. Fuel depots exploded without warning. Military communications became unreliable. Entire fleets lost contact with headquarters. No enemy ships were ever seen. No survivors returned. Fear slowly replaced confidence, but Supreme Commander Zayler refused to believe the rumors. He stood proudly inside his flagship. "The Alliance is trying to frighten us," he declared. "No civilization can hide entire fleets. The final attack begins tomorrow." Millions of Dominion soldiers cheered. Their giant armada prepared to destroy the last major Alliance defenses. Meanwhile, inside the Galactic Council chamber, confusion filled the room. Nobody understood what humanity was doing. General Krovos was becoming impatient. 3 days had passed. Still no human fleet had appeared near Alliance space. Speaker Varix turned toward Ambassador Terrell. "You know something," he said quietly. "Tell us the truth." The old ambassador lowered his eyes. "I know very little," he admitted. "Our ancestors erased almost everything, but I remember one sentence from my teacher. When humans go to war, you never see the battle until it is already over, before anyone could respond." Alarms filled the chamber. An emergency transmission arrived. A Dominion fleet containing 800 warships had disappeared. Not damaged, not defeated, gone, without debris, without distress calls. Without survivors, silence covered the room. General Krovos slowly sat down. Even he had no explanation. At that moment, another message arrived from Earth. Director Emily Hayes appeared. She looked calm as always. "The first phase is complete," she announced. Speaker Varix quickly stood. "What are you doing?" He demanded, "Where are your fleets?" Emily smiled slightly. "They are where they need to be. We suggest that Alliance forces remain defensive. The Dominion offensive will collapse soon. General Kravos could no longer hide his frustration. You speak in mysteries, he shouted. We are losing worlds while you play games, for the first time. Emily's smile disappeared. We are not playing games. General, we are preventing unnecessary deaths. Then the transmission ended. Far away, Supreme Commander Zalor launched the largest invasion in Dominion history. Nearly 10,000 warships entered Alliance space. He expected panic. He expected victory instead. Strange things happened immediately. Navigation systems failed. Long-range communications became useless. Entire formations drifted apart. Ships began disappearing one by one. No enemy fleet appeared. No weapons were detected. Nothing made sense. Admiral Zarek contacted the flagship. We are losing ships, he reported. But there are no enemies, Commander Zalor growled angrily. Impossible. Find them. Then the flagship itself lost power for 3 seconds. 3 seconds was enough when the systems returned. 20 surrounding warships had vanished. The bridge became silent. Fear appeared on every face. One officer whispered, "Something is hunting us." Hours later, panic spread through the Dominion fleet. Captains reported strange shadows moving between stars. Some ships exploded without warning. Others simply disappeared. Nobody could find the attacker. Nobody could fight back. Then every communication screen across the Dominion Armada suddenly activated. A human woman appeared, Director Emily Hayes. She looked calm, almost bored. "My name is Emily Hayes," she said. "You have invaded peaceful worlds and destroyed innocent lives. This war is over." Commander Zalor laughed angrily. "Show yourself," he shouted. "Face us like warriors." Emily stared at him. "We are facing you. You simply cannot see us." The transmission ended. Seconds later, hundreds of Dominion ships vanished together. Not destroyed, gone. Panic exploded. Admirals abandoned formations. Captains ignored orders. Millions of soldiers screamed through communication channels. For the first time in centuries, the mighty Dominion Empire felt fear. Back inside the Galactic Council chamber, everyone watched in shock. Battle reports arrived every minute. Dominion fleets were collapsing everywhere. Entire sectors surrendered without fighting. No Alliance forces had moved. No battles had been recorded. Nothing made sense. Then an emergency signal arrived. A damaged Dominion cruiser had escaped. Only one survivor remained alive. His body shook with terror. His eyes were full of fear. Speaker Varix asked softly, "What happened?" The survivor struggled to breathe. He looked around wildly, as if expecting something to appear behind him. Then he whispered words that made Ambassador Tyrell turn pale. "They fight exactly like them, the monsters from the ancient records. They are not new enemies. They are the same species." And before anyone could ask another question, the terrified officer screamed. They came back, and then his heart stopped. The death of the Dominion officer left the entire Galactic Council in silence. Nobody spoke for several minutes. Even General Kravos, who had doubted humanity from the beginning, could not find any words. The officer's final scream still echoed inside everyone's mind. They came back. Ambassador Tyrell slowly sat down. His face had become pale. Speaker Varix looked at him carefully. "You know something," he said quietly. What monsters was he talking about? Tyrell closed his eyes for a moment. "I do not know everything," he answered. "But I know enough to be afraid." Before anyone could ask more questions, another report arrived. 3 more Dominion fleets had disappeared. The impossible victories continued. No human ships had been seen. No battles had been recorded. It was as if the enemy simply vanished into darkness. General Kravos shook his head. "This makes no sense," he whispered. "There must be answers somewhere," Speaker Varix agreed immediately. He ordered access to the oldest archives in the galaxy. records that had not been opened for thousands of years. Deep beneath the council world, giant vaults slowly awakened. Ancient machines covered in dust came back to life. Many of the records were damaged, others had been erased intentionally. It was clear that someone had wanted history to disappear. After hours of searching, one forgotten file appeared. Its warning symbol was unlike anything they had seen before. Even the language was ancient. Ambassador Tyrell looked at the symbol and suddenly froze. He recognized it. His grandfather had once shown him the same mark. "The Forbidden's history," Tyrell whispered. Speaker Varix activated the recording. Static filled the room. Then the image of an ancient alien appeared. His body trembled with fear. Behind him, stars were burning. Entire worlds exploded in the background. The old alien spoke with a broken voice. "If you are watching this, then our promise has failed. We hoped future generations would never need this information. But if humanity has returned to war, then the galaxy is once again in danger." Everyone in the chamber became silent. The recording continued. 10,000 years ago, a species arrived from beyond the edge of the galaxy. They were called the Void Swarm. They consumed worlds and erased civilizations. No fleet could stop them. The greatest empires, united and still failed. Billions died every day. Images appeared of endless black ships, covering entire star systems. Planets burned everywhere. Desperate fleets fought and disappeared. The galaxy itself had nearly fallen. Then the ancient alien lowered his head, and then humanity entered the war. The chamber became silent. The recording showed human ships, but they looked nothing like modern human vessels. Their fleets were enormous. Entire stars moved beside them. Weapons larger than moons floated through space. General Krevos stared in shock. "Impossible," he whispered. The ancient alien continued. "We begged for their help, and they answered, but what they unleashed terrified us all. The Void Swarm was destroyed, but so were thousands of stars. Entire sectors became empty forever. No enemy survived, no battlefield remained. Humanity saved the galaxy, but the cost was beyond imagination." The recording showed humans standing beside alien leaders, not as conquerors, but as exhausted survivors. One human woman spoke in the recording. "Our weapons are too dangerous. We were never meant to use them again. We choose peace. We will leave galactic affairs, but promise us one thing. Never ask humanity to fight another interstellar war." The ancient alien nodded. "And we agreed. We erased most records. We hid the truth. We wanted future generations to forget what humanity was capable of. We hoped nobody would ever need them again." The recording ended. Silence filled the chamber. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. General Krevos slowly sat down. His hands were shaking. "So humans were not banned because they were weak," he whispered. "They were banned because they were too strong." Ambassador Tyrell nodded. "Our ancestors feared victory itself." Suddenly alarms echoed across the chamber. Another emergency transmission had arrived. Everyone expected more news about the collapsing Dominion. But what appeared on the screen froze the room. Supreme Commander Zaylor himself appeared. The proud leader of the Dominion no longer looked confident. Fear filled his eyes. Behind him, explosions shook his bridge. "Listen to me," he shouted desperately. "We were fools. We never understood. The Dominion is not." The millions of unknown signals beyond the edge of the galaxy spread fear across every civilization. Inside the Galactic Council chamber, nobody spoke. The sensor readings could not be real. Nothing that large had ever been recorded. Entire star maps turned red. General Krevos stared at the screen in disbelief. "Millions of ships?" He whispered. "That is impossible." But the numbers continued growing. Speaker Varix looked toward Ambassador Tyrell. The old ambassador had tears in his eyes. "They returned," he whispered. The nightmare returned, across the galaxy. Panic began spreading. Civilian transports became overcrowded. Governments declared emergencies. Religious leaders called for prayers. News channels broadcast warnings every hour. Even the Dominion Empire stopped fighting. Their surviving fleets abandoned battle and ran toward the galactic core. For the first time in history, enemies and allies shared the same fear. Then another transmission from Earth arrived. Director Emily Hayes appeared once again. She looked calm, too calm, as if nothing unusual had happened. Speaker Varix quickly stood. "You knew," he said. "You knew something like this would happen," Emily nodded. "We hoped it never would." General Krovos slammed his fists onto the table. "Millions of unknown ships are approaching, and you are calm?" Emily looked directly at him. "General, humanity has been preparing for this day for 10,000 years. The room became silent. She continued. "The Dominion awakened an enemy that should have remained sleeping. They are not conquerors. They are not an empire. They are extinction itself." Speaker Varix swallowed nervously. "The Void Swarm?" he asked. Emily slowly shook her head. "No, the Void Swarm was only their servants." Fear filled the chamber. "Then who are they?" Varix whispered. Emily's expression became serious. "We call them the Architects. They created the Void Swarm. They created countless monsters. And long ago, humanity failed to destroy all of them." The room exploded with questions, but Emily raised her hand. "There is no time. The Architects have returned, and this time they remember us." The transmission ended. Far beyond the galaxy, darkness moved. Not ordinary darkness, entire stars vanished inside it. Millions of strange ships advanced without engines, without lights, without communications. Like shadows crossing the universe, every civilization watched in horror. Then the first outer colonies disappeared. No distress calls arrived, no explosions were seen. One moment the colonies existed. The next moment they were gone, as if they had never been there. Entire systems vanished from the maps. Refugees fled deeper into the galaxy. Nobody knew where safety existed anymore. Meanwhile, deep beneath Earth's oceans, hidden doors opened. Ancient chambers that had remained sealed for 10,000 years slowly awakened. Machines larger than cities came alive, old computers activated. Thousands of lights illuminated forgotten halls, and somewhere below Antarctica, a giant chamber opened for the first time since ancient history. Inside stood Admiral Marcus Kane. His hair had turned gray long ago, but his eyes remained sharp. He looked toward the massive sleeping fleet before him. Millions of warships rested inside endless hangars. Ships older than recorded history. Beside him stood younger officers. One of them spoke quietly. "Sir, Protocol Omega has been activated across all sectors." Marcus nodded. "How many responded?" he asked. The officer smiled nervously. "All of them. Every hidden fleet. Every fortress. Every colony. Humanity remembers." Marcus closed his eyes for a moment. He had prayed that these words would never be spoken again. Then he opened them slowly. "Prepare awakening sequence," he ordered. Thousands of officers immediately moved across the moon, Mars, Europa, Titan, and forgotten worlds nobody knew existed. Giant structures opened, ancient shipyards came alive. Weapons systems awakened. Deep space stations emerged from invisible dimensions, and all across Earth. Ordinary people watched strange lights appear in the skies. Many had no idea what was happening, but others recognized the signs. Families opened old boxes containing photographs and letters passed down for generations. One message appeared in every home across Earth. It contained only 6 words: "Stand ready." Humanity remembers again. Back inside the Galactic Council, another transmission suddenly appeared. This time nobody from Earth had sent it. The screen flickered. A strange face appeared. Not human, not Dominion, not anything anyone recognized. Its black eyes stared directly into the chamber. And when it spoke, its voice sounded ancient. "We have found you again. We remember your species. We remember the fire you unleashed. We remember the stars you destroyed." Several council members froze in terror. The creature continued, "For 10,000 years, we searched the darkness, and now humanity has revealed itself once more." Its black eyes narrowed. "Tell your protectors that the architects have returned. This time we come prepared. And this time, we will erase humanity forever." The transmission ended. Silence covered the chamber. Nobody moved, nobody breathed. Then far away, hidden beneath the moon's surface, Admiral Marcus Kane looked up as millions of ancient warships slowly awakened around him. And for the first time in 10,000 years, the old commander spoke the words humanity had sworn never to say again. "Wake the First Fleet. The last war begins now." The words of Admiral Marcus Kane echoed through the ancient command chamber. "The last war begins now, for 10,000 years." Those words had remained forbidden. Nobody expected to hear them again. Across the hidden bases of humanity, ancient systems fully awakened. Massive shipyards buried beneath moons opened like giant flowers. Invisible stations appeared from empty space. And millions of warships began leaving places that no alien civilization had ever discovered. Inside the Galactic Council chamber, fear had replaced confusion. Nobody understood how humanity had hidden so much for so long. Speaker Varix stared at the latest reports. New signals appeared every second, but they did not belong to the architects. They belonged to humanity, millions then billions. The numbers became impossible. General Kravos nearly fell from his chair. "This cannot be real," he whispered. "No species can possess fleets this large." Ambassador Terrell slowly closed his eyes. "Our ancestors were right," he said quietly. "We forgot who protected us meanwhile." Earth itself had changed. Cities remained calm. There was no panic, no riots. People continued their lives. Children still went to school. Families still ate together. To the rest of the galaxy, it seemed strange. How could humans remain so peaceful when extinction was approaching, but hidden beneath ordinary life? Preparations continued. Every citizen knew their role. Every system had been tested for thousands of years. Humanity had never forgotten. Deep below Antarctica, Admiral Kane entered the Hall of Memory. Rows of statues stood in silence. Each represented heroes who had fought the first war against the architects. Millions of names covered the walls. Kane stopped before one statue. A woman wearing an old uniform, Commander Sarah Mitchell. The woman who had ended the First War, and the woman who had ordered humanity to hide its power forever. Kane lowered his head. "We failed to keep your promise," he whispered. "But we will finish what you started." Suddenly an officer entered the chamber. "Sir," he said, "the Galactic Council requests answers." Kane nodded. "It is time." Minutes later, every leader in the galaxy received the same transmission. Director Emily Hayes appeared beside Admiral Kane for the first time. Humanity allowed everyone to see one of their ancient command centers. The room became silent. Speaker Varix stood immediately. "Please tell us the truth," he said. "Why were humans banned from war?" Admiral Kane looked directly into the cameras. His voice was calm. "We were never banned." The chamber froze. Kane continued. "We banned ourselves." Shock spread everywhere. General Kravos stared in disbelief. "Why?" he asked. Kane sighed softly. "Because we learned something terrible. Winning can be more dangerous than losing." Images appeared behind him. Ancient stars exploding, entire galaxies burning. Worlds disappearing forever. Alien leaders watched in horror. "The First War lasted 200 years, Kane explained. The architects could not be defeated with ordinary weapons, so humanity created new ones, weapons powerful enough to erase. Stars, weapons powerful enough to break. Reality itself, we won, but victory came with a Terrible cost. Thousands of star systems disappeared. Forever, and billions of innocent lives were lost. Silence filled the galaxy. Kane lowered his eyes. After the war, humanity swore never to unleash such power again. We chose peace. We hid ourselves, and we prayed the architects would never return. General Krovos looked pale. So the stories were true, he whispered. Kane nodded. Our ancestors feared one thing more than defeat: themselves. Suddenly alarms exploded inside the command center. An officer rushed forward. Sir. Emergency report. The outer defense lines have fallen. Everyone froze. Even Kane's face became serious. Huge holograms appeared. The architects had arrived. Not millions, trillions, their fleets covered entire sectors. Stars disappeared behind endless darkness. Civilizations across the galaxy screamed in terror. Refugee ships filled the space lanes. Nobody had ever imagined such numbers, Speaker Varix whispered. There is no way to stop that, but Admiral Kane remained calm. He turned toward another officer. Status of the First Fleet? Ready, sir. Second Fleet? Ready, sir. 3rd through 20th Fleets? All ready, Kane nodded. Then he looked toward the entire galaxy. His voice became heavy. For 10,000 years, we hoped these words would never be spoken again. But humanity will stand, we will fight, and we will protect. The words spoken by Admiral Marcus Kane spread across every human command center. We need the Guardian again, for a moment. Nobody moved, even the officers beside him became silent. Some of them had spent their entire lives hoping they would never hear those words. Deep in the darkness between galaxies, the ancient machine continued waking. Stars around it trembled, entire systems shook. Something larger than worlds slowly opened its eyes. And everywhere, human commanders whispered the same sentence. The Guardian has returned. Meanwhile, the architects advanced without stopping. Their endless fleets consumed stars like fire consuming dry grass. Civilizations disappeared every hour. Refugee ships crowded every safe world. Fear spread through the galaxy. Inside the Galactic Council chamber, many leaders had already lost hope. General Krovos stared at the latest reports with empty eyes. It is over, he whispered. No fleet can stop this. Speaker Varix looked toward Earth one final time. What are humans waiting for? He asked. At that exact moment, every screen inside the chamber suddenly went dark. For 3 seconds, the entire galaxy lost communication. Then one image appeared everywhere. Human, alien, civilian, military, everyone saw the same thing. Admiral Marcus Kane stood inside the ancient command chamber. His voice was calm. The architects have returned. And once again humanity stands. Between life and extinction, we did not want this. War. We did not want these weapons, but we will not allow darkness to win. Then he looked directly into the camera. To every species, stand together. Today we fight not as separate civilizations. Today we fight as one galaxy. The transmission ended. And suddenly space itself changed. Millions of strange lights appeared behind the human fleets. The stars seemed to bend. Massive gates opened across the universe. And from those gates came something impossible. The Guardian, entire planets looked tiny beside it. Its body stretched across space like a moving mountain. Thousands of smaller defense worlds surrounded it. Even the architect fleet stopped moving. For the first time in 10,000 years, the enemy hesitated inside the architect command network. Panic spread. Ancient memories awakened. They remembered the machine. They remembered the war. They remembered defeat. And for the first time, fear entered their minds. Across the galaxy, billions watched in silence. No one spoke, no one breathed. Then the Guardian spoke. Its voice echoed through every communication system. Creator species recognized. Enemy identified. Executing final protocol. The architects attacked immediately. Trillions of ships rushed forward. Entire stars exploded, space itself burned. But the Guardian moved, and the universe trembled. Waves of light crossed the darkness. Architect fleets disappeared. Not damaged, not destroyed, erased, whole sectors became empty. Human fleets advanced behind the Guardian. Not with anger, not with hatred, but with purpose. For 7 days and 7 nights, the war continued. Every species joined the fight. Former enemies stood side by side. Dominion survivors fought beside the Alliance. Nobody cared about old wars anymore, because survival mattered more. And slowly, the impossible happened. The endless architect fleets began disappearing. Their commanders fled, their worlds collapsed, and finally, their ancient leader appeared, a giant being hidden inside a dying star. Its voice shook the galaxy. You should have stayed hidden. Humans, you should have forgotten us. Admiral Kane stood before the screen. His eyes were filled with sadness. We tried, he answered quietly, for 10,000 years. We tried, but you came back, the architect leader screamed with rage. Then the Guardian raised its hand. One final pulse crossed the universe. And the last architect disappeared forever. Silence followed. No enemy signals remained. The war was over. Across the galaxy, billions celebrated. People cried with joy, worlds rang bells. Civilization sang songs of victory. And once again, humanity had saved everyone. But Admiral Kane did not smile, because he knew victory always had a price. Days later, the Galactic Council gathered once more. This time every leader stood when the human delegation entered. No one laughed, no one doubted. Speaker Verax lowered his head respectfully. The galaxy owes humanity everything, he said. We offer you leadership of all civilizations. But Admiral Kane shook his head. We do not want power. We never wanted power. We only wanted peace. General Kravos slowly stepped forward. Tears filled his eyes. Now I understand, he whispered. The ban was never meant to protect humans. It was meant to protect everyone else. Ambassador Terrell smiled softly. Our ancestors remembered, and now so do we. Months later, human fleets disappeared once again. Ancient shipyards closed, hidden stations went silent. And the Guardian returned to its eternal sleep. Earth became quiet. Just another peaceful world among countless stars. Children laughed. Families lived normal lives. And humanity returned to the shadows. But in every school across the galaxy, one lesson became sacred. Never involve humans in interstellar wars. Not because they are weak, not because they are cruel, but because when humanity enters a war, the war always ends. And as the stars shined peacefully once more, a forgotten message remained carved inside the Grand Council Hall. For thousands of years, the galaxy believed the ban protected humanity. But in the end, everyone discovered the truth. The ban had always protected the galaxy from the only species powerful enough to save it.